Welcome everybody to Great Players of the Past. I was going to do Magnus, but he won against Dinglerin and Wesley So and Alexander Grishuk pretty convincingly. So I guess he's not a great player of the past. He might be a great player of the present. It seemed like he was. He still hasn't won a Super GM round robin in about 17 months, but I guess he'll win one eventually. Anyway, I think Karpov won one like every month when he was world champion. All right. So we'll do the obvious choice for this lecture is Max Lange. In fact, I just gave a lesson to a German student, and I said I'm doing a class here about Max Lange, but obviously I'm pronouncing it wrong. Could you pronounce it for me? So I would, and he said, oh, is there an E at the end? And I said, yeah. And he said, okay, Max Lange. And I said, oh, so my pronunciation wasn't correct. And he said, no, it was not so good. So I was like, all right. And the class didn't get it. It's slow, slow. Okay, keep it down back there. Okay, so in fact, I asked the class, did they get it? And they said 9. So I don't know. I don't get it. All right, Max Lange was, now I don't want to confuse the audience because you were already confused, so if I confuse you more. There's 2 Max Langes. Yeah, also there's 2 Samuel Butlers, if you didn't know that. You heard of Samuel Butler? This isn't the smartest audience. Anyway, Samuel Butler, there's 2 of them throughout history. So if you think there's one, then he did a lot over many centuries. So that's now Max Lange, the good one, the one you've heard of because of. Why have you heard of him?
The Max Lange Attack.
Attack. Yeah, it's an opening named after him. And so the other Max Lange or Lange is also German, but played about 50 years later. So he wasn't as good. Although this guy's also a little iffy. Okay, so first of all, he's great because of his beard. So that goes without saying. And I think he lived to 67. Is that right? Did I count right? Yeah, that's pretty good for back then. Didn't make the next century. It was a slow century. And he was not only a chess player, he was the editor of a German chess newsletter, and he organized chess tournaments, and the president of the German Chess Federation. So my pronunciation was not so good, but his life was not so bad. Yeah. And he won the German championships many times, including the Western German championships. You're not old enough to understand, but you are. Yeah. I was in West Germany, but was I ever in Germany? That's a good question. Because I played in the Bundesliga. Yeah, not the soccer one. Yeah, I played for Dortmund. And I have a funny story about Germany, okay, which doesn't involve, man, I can't say that. Which doesn't, I pass on what I was going to say. Although you would edit it out. Man, would you edit that out. Okay, but yeah, it doesn't involve any murders. But anyway, I was in Germany, and the wall was obviously coming down. And I was in Germany. And my Bundesliga coach, Jürgen Grastadt, now there's a German name. I said, yo, Jürgen, is that wall going to come down soon? And he said, he was serious. He said, that wall's never coming down. And then the next day, they're tearing the wall down. And he was like, what? So the day before the wall came down, he was like, that wall's not coming down. So that's, man, Germans are tough. Okay, and then they talk about the other Max Lange here. It says, don't confuse them. And this is the funny part, and this is something you don't know. I told you at home a few times, but you don't remember what I say. There's a very strong Chinese grandmaster, definitely top 5 in China, used to be number 1 in China briefly, named Li Chao. If you go to ChessBase and type in Li Chao, you're going to find Li Chao 2. They don't care who's higher rated. They want to know who was first. There's another Li Chao, I guess, because there's probably a lot of Li Chaos, who was FIDE rated first. Then he was. So he's Li Chao 2. So it says in chess literature, the other guy's Max Lange 2. So I thought that was funny because I only know Li Chao 2. I didn't know there was another 2 Max Langes. Okay, and then the games of him. Now the problem with his best games is he didn't play some of them. So I actually did some research for this. People were complaining like this wasn't a game. This was analysis and you guys were kidding. But he still has a great beard. So it's the exact same picture. I've never seen that. Usually they have 2 different pictures and they're funny. So, and this one's bigger. So. All right, let's get to, now, I want to warn my audience. This is not the highest level chess. However, I've been teaching camp all week. So this is the highest level chess for me. The moves are legal. When they resign or get checkmated, it makes sense. So it's, it's pretty high level for me. Now, he beat Adolf Anderssen several times, although some of the games are fake. And I think he lost to him a lot, and I didn't see those games because we're doing it on him, not Adolf Anderssen. Yeah. Okay. Not to be confused with Ulf Anderssen for obvious reasons. Okay. First game is against NN. Okay. Now, these games are not at a high level, but they're really fun. They're really fun. Like, I'm serious. These are like really fun games. And you can see that they're not 2,600 strength, especially his opponents. But, games are good anyway for fun. Okay, so obviously White played. It was 1855. So what did White play?
Knight F3.
How does that do with 1855? Come on.
A4. Oh, no.
A4?
No, F4.
Knight F3 tricked you. No, I thought it was F4 too. That's every other game. I got him good. No, Knight F3 is correct. Yeah. D5. Now we're talking. Okay, and let's see. Let's call on Karen. If you know the name of the opening, you're probably not good at chess. If you don't know, then you're good. What's the name of this opening? You have no idea, do you? No. Is it anybody? Sozin? That's a normal, Sicilian opening. This is ludicrous. It's recommended by Luda. Anybody at home know? Yeah, you know at home. I know you guys. I'm serious. That's the name of the opening. I'm not kidding when I tell you. It's not a joke. It's the Elephant Gambit. That's the Elephant Gambit. And there are people who were married to the Elephant Gambit. Obviously, they're not married in real life because, you can see. Yeah. So that's not a good move. And no grandmaster would ever play it. But there are people, Class B, Class A, maybe even expert. That's part of their tricky repertoire. Okay. So Knight takes is not considered the best move. You should play Pawn takes. But Knight takes okay. Okay. Takes. And now White played the most interesting move. Bishop c4. So we're going to take on f7, and maybe we're going to lose all of our pieces, but it's going to be fun. So that's more important than playing correctly. Okay, queen g5. Everything's hanging on both sides, so that's good. Knight f7. Queen g2, obviously. Queen h5. Okay, so the truth hurts. Okay, when you're playing NN, you can usually get away with anything. Okay, give away a rook with check. That ain't the only rook he's given away. Okay. Now, White's down a rook, but there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of compensation and such. So, obviously, White's threatening everything. Knight takes h8, discovered check, knight d6, double check, etc. Okay, queen takes c1, because this was 1855, so you just take everything and get mated. You don't care. Yeah. Knight d6 check, and queen takes c1. Nobody good would ever play that move. You would be like, oh my god, the guy's mating me. So, if I was black and I was playing a blitz game, I would just, immediately play queen f3 check and trade queens, and then, probably black's better or winning. But, yeah. And probably I wouldn't play anything else in a blitz game. In a slow game, I'd probably think forever and see if there's a better move than queen f3. But I know I won't get mated if I go there. I'll trade queens. And then probably just bad for white. But, okay, 1855, NN. This ain't Kasparov-Karpov. Okay. Knight d6 double check. King d8 hangs mate in 1 to queen e8, so he didn't do that. If you want to play g6, that's illegal because you're in check by 2 pieces. Okay. And queen f7 check, very suspicious. Yeah, king takes knight obviously because they just take everything. They don't. I mean, that knight doesn't matter. What matters is you don't get mated. So walking into you got to block on e7. Okay. And then knight c3, which is good because he gives his other rook away. That's how they played back then. Now, again, if I was black here, I wouldn't even consider queen takes rook. I wouldn't even think of that move. Okay, so if it was a blitz game, obviously I would play bishop g4 check. I gotta get one piece out before I lose. Yeah. Then after king e3, I might lose. I don't know. I'm not doing it. After king e3, I could be in trouble. But I'm not just taking the rook and getting mated. That's crazy. Okay. And then knight e4 check. Obviously, black's getting mated. King's ridiculous. Yeah. So, I mean, if here, then maybe there's a mate in 1, but I see this pretty quickly. So, it could be mate in 1. All right, so obviously he played king e5 and queen d5 check. There's one legal move. And the point of queen d5 check is to give more pieces away. By force, white gives more pieces away. King f4 is the only legal move. And now king takes knight's the only legal move. You gotta give all your pieces away. Okay. And then mate in 1, and there's more than one answer. In fact, I see 3 answers without thinking. So There might be more than 3. Anybody see a mate in 1? King D5?
Queen E3.
Queen E3, Queen D5. What's the third one? I see 3. There could be more.
C3.
C3. Those are the 3 that I see. Yeah. Okay, he played that one. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So the games are all silly like that because, 1855. And it ain't Morphe. So, it's doofus and doofus, basically. Yeah. And what's funny is this guy's more famous than the other Max Lange. So, I don't know. It's saying something. All right. Still better than the chess camp games. Okay, now he's playing Adolf Anderssen. And I got to tell you a funny story. So, obviously Morphe was great. And everybody around then was not great. And people wonder, what if Morphe played Steinitz, but they never played? And nobody wonders about Morphe and Staunton because Staunton was no good. So Staunton knew what would have happened. So Staunton's like, oh, I'm tired. Yeah, okay. I'll play some other guy who can't play, which is on our wall. Staunton Saint Amant. He's like, I can beat that guy, but he can't beat Morphe. Yeah, Morphe plays spot material to Saint Amant. Anyway, so Morphe never played Staunton because Staunton was a smart guy. Otherwise, his reputation probably would have been pretty bad. And he never played Steinitz because Morphe quit chess. If Morphe didn't quit chess, he could have beaten Steinitz up. But okay. However, in my research, which I did about a year ago, because I like Morphe, I noticed they both played Adolf Anderssen a lot. Yeah, and go look that up. Adolf Anderssen plus score against Steinitz in lifetime. Paul Morphe plus 20 against Adolf Anderssen. Yeah, so, yeah. Also, Adolf Anderssen's losing a lot of games to Max Lange. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so Morphe good, everybody else no good. Just so you know that. Okay, so E4. This better be F4. I'm going to get mad. Okay, good. Now, a long time ago, I'm not even sure if knight F3 was more common than bishop C4. I'm not even sure. I think they were like equal. So bishop C4 was really common back then. And as I've said in previous lectures, probably to you guys, which grandmaster in the last 40 years only played bishop c4 and the king's gambit? They played the king's gambit, but they didn't play knight f3. Spassky played knight f3. Yeah. There's 3 players who are very good at chess who played the king's gambit occasionally. Spassky. What? No. I don't know. Fischer played him. He was kidding. I mean, a real game. Yeah. Spassky, Short, and this person played it the most. This person played it the most. Person. I didn't say this guy. I didn't say he. Yeah. Giving you a hint.
Judith.
Yeah, Judah, because there's nobody else who's any good. Right. Judah Polgar played bishop c4 when she played the king's gambit, and she played it every game. Then she started playing knight f3 on move 2. Okay. Now, in my opinion, queen h4 is not the best move. I think d5 is the best move. But people like to make the king move. So then they move their queen 30 times. So moving your king and queen every move, that's how you play in the 1800s. Now we play a little bit better. Now, in games that I've shown before, white's always playing knight f3 in these positions. But yeah, Max didn't do that. He just left the queen on h4. Yeah, he just played in the center. All right. And then g3. He did this a lot, actually. And then after takes, he played the obvious move, which means it's not obvious.
Knight f3.
That's sort of obvious. Yeah. King g2. Stopping g2. Yeah. Well, the variation that's funny is this. The truth hurts. Yeah, and let's say you're like, well, I won't take the pawn then. Well, then I go here and win your queen. So king g2 was funny until we analyzed it. Then you're like, oh. So you think the king is bad, but the queen is bad. Queen's on the side, trap, can't move. So let's run away. Yeah. Okay, and obviously white has good compensation for a pawn. I mean, got all his pieces out. Got his rook on an open file. Black has the usual, the usual. And black moved his queen so many times, you guys can't even figure it out. It's only 3, but I could be wrong. Okay, h6, rook f1, castles. If you don't play castles, then something bad might happen here. Bad stuff's happening. Yeah. After castles, nothing bad will happen there. Okay, knight e5. And he got rid of the guy's bishop. Rook f6. And you don't see games like this anymore. Bam! Yeah, and now there's the Feingold gun, there's the Alekhine gun, now we're going to see the Lange gun. It's going to happen. Sacks his bishop. Yeah. And knight d5 with serious threats. Very serious. Like knight f6. Knight check, which is a funny move. It stops knight f6 check because it's check. Okay, and here comes the Lange gun, rook h1. We got the queen and two rooks. And unfortunately, I have very bad news for black. You know what the bad news is? Material's equal. That's not good, because white's checkmating him. So you got to have like a piece or something. Okay, rook e8. Now, if it was white's turn to move here, then he would play knight e7 check, and you would take the knight, and he would play rook h8 check. Yeah? Yeah. So rook e8 stops that. See, Adolf Anderssen, he saw that. You can't trick him. Yeah. Now, this move's really nice. Like, I like to make fun of the guy because they don't play very well. But, I mean, if these guys were class players, you know, like 1800, 1700, they wouldn't play this move. This is a good move. Yeah. Not the kind of move you find. Yeah. You guys would probably play like, you know, king f3 or bishop c5, you know, or queen e5, you know, triple threat. This move's really good. This shows like the why he's a famous person, not just like a joke.
Queen takes g6?
No, that would be more of the joke.
Okay.
Yeah, they take with a pawn, you resign. Yeah.
Rook h7.
Yeah, it's like a normal move. Like rook h7 is what I play. Yeah.
Rook h8?
Well, that gives the rook away. Don't do that. Yeah, this was a good move. I agree with this move.
I mean, rook takes g6?
Eventually. Yeah. All right, too many guesses. Bishop d4. Notice the threat. Bishop takes queen. You see that threat? Yeah. What are you going to do about it?
Then you gotta take the bishop.
Yeah, I think so. You can't play knight e5 because knight f6 wins, rook h8 wins. Rook h8's mate, so you can't play knight e5. So I think you have to, yeah, he resigned. But if you take it, I go here. And now this is funny. If you decide not to sacrifice, to take, it's mate, because my knight on d5 is pretty good. That's a pretty good knight on d5, yeah. So you have to take, and then, man, the truth hurts. That's some hurting. If king f8, I would assume rook f1 is good. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. I'm not wrong, am I? Okay. And then queen g7, I check. And every move wins here. You can't find a move that doesn't win. Even queen takes queen wins. But this is the funniest win, because it reminds me of a Morphy game. Okay, so bishop d4 resigns. Yeah, bishop d4, that's tough. Talk about getting all your pieces into the attack. And like most games from last century, you know, they don't, move those pieces next game. I don't need those. Yeah, but look at white's position. Like you dream of like everything white did and didn't sack anything. Like it's equal material here. So that's crazy.
What would happen if you did something crazy like bishop g4?
Bishop g4. Well, I assume that I just keep going to h8 and I mate you.
Okay.
So let's see if I'm right. I have like an x-ray here. So, yeah.
Okay.
Is that just mate? I just keep taking on h8 until it's mate?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I just keep taking it. I never stop taking it. Yeah, bishop g4 would have... Well, after bishop g4, I'm assuming that that's like the horizon effect. I take it and you didn't... Nothing good happened. Like you didn't... Like I just took it and now it's the same position, but you lost your bishop. Like you didn't really change anything. You just gave your bishop away. So you lasted one more move. If you're trying not to get mated in less than 25 moves to avoid that kind of... Then, okay. Yeah, here you got to resign because look at it. Ugh, terrible. Now, Adolf Anderssen had a plus score against Steinitz, so he's probably okay. Yeah, and he's famous. So Max,
He's a world champion.
yeah, I mean, so
Unofficial.
he's not so bad. Yeah, very unofficial. Right. Okay. Here's another game. AAF4. They played the same nonsense. They did that a long time ago. They were like, oh, let's do this again. Remember this from last time? Yeah. It's still the same thing. Yeah. Bob Seger style, still the same? No, nothing? Okay. This still looks familiar, right? This is the same thing. Yeah. Ah, novelty. Rook f8. He passed with the last game, right? The knight e5? Yeah. Okay. Ugh. Okay, b3. Ugh. Okay. B3. I'm doing a lecture on this guy. I mean, B3 is good. Okay, Z6, E5, B3. All right, bishop G4. Yeah, these moves make sense. Knight A6, takes. Bishop A3, the point of B3. Long castle. Now you know why he played rook F8. Yeah. Now this game is very suspicious. If I put an engine on it, every move's a blunder. But the end of the game is funny, so I liked it. 7, back. Is material equal? Because if so, that's very funny. Yeah. See, they play great. Knight F5, threatening. Knight E3 with advantage. And that girl was telling you, right? Who was telling you? The family fork? Was it a boy? I forgot. You were explaining it was a family fork to some kid today. What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, ooh, yeah. Okay, so Queen D3, see how good he was? Right. Rook E8, same threat. Rook E1. Queen H5. Knight G1, defense. That's my kind of move. That really defends everything. I like that. Yeah. Knight C7. Everybody takes everything. Very suspicious. Knight A6 check. Damn. King A7. Yeah. I guess if you take it, I play bishop takes, threatening queen b5. I could have some attack there, although I doubt it. Bishop c1, very suspicious move. Yeah, none of these moves make any sense. Bishop takes g1, knight b5 check. Queen takes check. I think he missed mate here, but that's okay. I don't really care if he can mate him. This is funnier. Check. King takes, stopping all the checks. Black was looking forward to bishop f3 check, and bishop h3 check, and queen h3 check, and white took with the king. Yeah, that showed him. Now, white's up a rook, somehow. I think white was sacking all his pieces, and black didn't take them. So, okay, bishop f3, threatening all kinds of checkmates. Check, 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 check. This is how they played in 1851. Give me a break. Check, takes, and there's still no checks. Black has no checks. Now black has some checks. Now you gotta watch it. Yeah. Yeah, this is like a blitz game between two little kids. It's funny, like everybody's getting mated. Yeah. Check, 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 and black resigned because you either get mated or lose your queen or both. Yeah, yeah. I think it's. I'm not sure if it's mate or you just lose your queen. Yeah, it's mate. It's mate. Yeah, yeah. I sort of like that game because it wasn't well played, but it was funny. Yeah. Also, I like the way in 1800s they would play the same horrible opening every game and like deviate at some point. And I'm like, well, the first time moves didn't make any sense. Why are you deviating move 11? But yeah. Anyway, those games are fun because they're not played now. They play better now, so it's funnier. Unless they play blitz chess, then they play terrible now. Okay. Now, this game, there's an argument about who his opponent was and what year it was played. But somebody put that in that year, so okay. But it could have been played. There's arguments about... But this game did exist. There was another game that was great, but it was a made-up game. It was analysis. This game actually was played. Okay. And knight c3. See, Max Lange, he played everything. Now f4. There we go. Yeah, and he played this gambit. And you can't just give one piece away. This is 1856. You gotta give all your pieces away. Yeah. Otherwise, it's not a king's gambit. And the crowd's looking confused here. Like, where'd white's pieces go? Yeah. Yeah, that's how they rolled back then. Yeah. Threatening rook f7 mate. Scary, right? Scary. Okay, knight h6 stops mate. Bishop e3, developing the bishop. Yeah, and again, this is 1856, so these, we don't need those guys. Those guys don't ever have to move. D6, knight e2. Very suspicious move when you're down two pieces. Queen e7. King takes pawn. He wants to get his rook to g1 and attack that way. Yep. Yay, look at that attack coming. Great. Queen takes knight check. Yeah, I like this game. In your professional opinion, as professional kibitzers and spectators, when black played bishop f7, you think he expected queen takes knight? Now, that guy's like, what? Yeah. Now, what I like about this is white takes all of his pieces. Okay, now, when the game's over, I'm going to tell you something really funny. Okay, which I believe because it was more than one source. And also, I think white had mate earlier, but I will explain why he didn't do it. Okay, so takes, and that's discovered check, right? Okay, so here, knight check, one legal move, rook f5, which threatens h3. Actually, does it threaten h3 or threatens nothing? h3, king h4. Yeah. So this is ridiculous. I assume like after queen takes pawn, white resigns. Yeah, white would just resign here. Yeah. It's totally ridiculous. Yeah. And probably here we have mate, I'm guessing. Oh, we have nothing, you're just losing. Okay. Yeah. Rook f5 is horrible. Queen takes e4 check just wins. Yeah. Okay, h6, which is ridiculous. h3 check. Rook h5 check. And mate. Okay, now I gotta tell you a funny story about this game. It's more than one source agreed to the what I'm gonna tell you. The guy with black wasn't so good, as you can see, because queen takes e4 check would have won immediately. And when the game started, Max Lange said he would mate him with his queen knight. So he had to mate him with his queen knight. So that's why he did all that. And what they did was they put a cap on the knights, you know which piece they're going to get mated with. I've done that in blitz chess. I've done that where I have to mate you with something. What I like to do in blitz chess, and I usually win on time, so it doesn't matter, is I have to mate you on a square. So before the game starts, you tell me the square. And then I have to get your king on that square before I mate you. So you say like h3, and then I have to get your king to run down to h3, and then I mate you. And that's not hard, but you know, I get 2 or 3 queens, and I do what I want. I can make your king go to h3. Yeah. But this is harder because if you take that piece, the game's over. You have to mate with the knight. So that means the guy wasn't very good. Yeah. So that was the most suspicious game of them all, but the funniest. So we're missing that from today. Let's see how intelligent my audience is. Of the top players today, we'll say 2650 and higher FIDE, so top 100 in the world. Who are the most interesting and enterprising? Like play interesting chess like this, not just like Berlin draw, Berlin draw, Berlin draw. Just play actual interesting chess. Who? Nakamura. He will play Berlin draw too. Yeah. But yeah.
Rapport.
Richard Rapport, that's the best answer. Yeah, he plays like a lunatic every game and he's 2700. Yeah, he plays crazy. Who? Yeah. Mamijarov is a good answer. Yeah. And not Joe Mama, but Joe Bava. Yeah, he's a bad your man. His first name is Bad Yor. Yeah. So Joe Bava, Rapport, Nakamura to some extent, Mamijarov, yeah. Those guys aren't kidding around. And 10, 15, 20 years ago, I would have said Morozevich and Shirov. And they still do that, but they don't play much anymore. And they're no good. But
one of the Chinese guys.
Chinese guys are pretty boring for the most part, but Wang Hao and Wei Yi will play interesting. Yeah. But okay, usually it's like, Berlin draw, Berlin, every game's a draw. Yeah. But back then, they didn't know the meaning of the word draw because, they're like, what's that? So that game made no sense. So I like that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, this is very strange. There's a Simpsons episode, and it's a Super Bowl episode. And I think Karen's actually seen a little bit of it. It's the one with Dolly Parton, if you remember that. Do you? You do?
Vaguely.
Yeah. So the episode happens, the episode's ending, and they go to the play-by-play guys to talk about the episode. Because it's a Super Bowl, so they were, John Madden and the other guy, whoever the guy was. I know his name too, I just can't think of it. John Madden and the other guy. What's it? Pat Summerall. Yes. I did it in the fourth quarter, which I figured it out. So the game ended, and they said, so what'd you think of that episode? And the guy's like, that was a good episode, I liked it. And he's like, well, wait a minute. It was a Super Bowl episode, and there was no football. And he went on and on. He says, yeah, that was a terrible episode. And then the episode ends. So the reason for that story was this is a Max Lange lecture with no Max Lange attacks. Yeah, well, he didn't really play it that much. But you got to name it after somebody. Usually you name it after somebody who's pretty famous. So if like a 2000 player invented it, he ain't getting no credit. He's got nothing. Yeah. Okay, so he's white, and now we're getting this. It's pretty close to it. There you go. See? That's as close as we're going to get to the Max Lange attack, is this position. Yeah, and he castled, and b4. A delayed Evans gambit. Very suspicious. Now, a grandmaster today wouldn't play d6, because that doesn't make any sense. You would play knight f6, and you would castle, and then you play d6 later. So d6, b4 actually makes sense to me. If the guy's not going to try to castle, then we can play an Evans gambit with castling already. We can play c3, d4, and our c-pawn's not pinned because we castled. So I like the delayed Evans gambit. That actually makes sense. Knight takes b4. 1853. Give me a break. c3, back, d4. See, in Evans gambit, if they take with the bishop and play bishop a5, now you could take on d4 and the c-pawn's pinned. But since white castled, get d4 in for free. Okay, takes I don't like. And bishop b6. And this is a normal Evans gambit with black playing d6 too early. So it's got to be good for white. h3 makes no sense. The point of h3 is to prevent black from playing bishop g4, which is a reasonable move. But white sacrificed a pawn. So h3 is sort of slow. It's probably not slow enough where white's going to get a worse position, but it's a pretty slow move. But it shows his understanding of the position. Black would like to do this and put pressure on the d4 pawn because it pins the knight, and the knight's defending d4. So, okay. Okay, knight a5. Ooh, yeah. All right, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Yeah, knight's terrible on a5. And this is the kind of thing I tell my beginning students at the camp not to do, because when they attack a piece, they start foaming at the mouth. I attacked a piece. You know, the second I text my mom, I attacked a piece. You know, I'm like, what? They move it away. And they're like, no, they don't move it away. You haven't seen my opponents. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So they got me. Yeah. Okay, but this is Max Lange. So he moved it away. Okay, a d5 makes zero sense. And I have a funny story about Jay Bonin, who you've heard of. They haven't heard of Jay Bonin. So Jay Bonin's been an IM since before you were born, including Karen. And I'm probably serious. He might have been an IM before you were born. But anyway, probably not. Jay Bonin is probably 68. He's got to be in his late 60s. And he's a New York IM. He plays in every tournament. He's never going to be a GM. And he's lucky to be an IM. Now, he was a good IM. It's not now. And he plays hundreds of rated games a year. And his least favorite opponent is your favorite New York Grandmaster, Michael Rode. But I never heard of him either. Yeah, Michael Rode was U.S. Junior Championship and pretty good. Anyway, I was in New York once, and Michael was paired with Jay Bonin, and Michael won. And he said, yeah, I beat Jay like 28 games in a row. And like one's an IM, one's a GM. And I was like, wow. He says, yeah, he's my customer. And he said, Jay doesn't even have the most basic understanding of chess. Like, don't open the center when your king's there. And I was like, what? And then I look at these games from 150 years ago, and they show the Jay Bonin understanding of chess. Okay, obviously Jay's better than that. He's just trash talking. But yeah, d5, you don't do that. White castled, and black didn't castle. So white wants the center open, not black. And black's losing as many tempi as possible. Maybe he had a bet. He played knight c6 to a5, and then d6 to d5. So there's no reason to move these when you can move these more than once, which he did. All those have moved at least twice, at least. Yeah. So d5 just nonsensical move. Like I would never consider that. Okay, so he takes because he wants to open the e file. Also, he opened his bishop up on d3. Yeah. Okay, queen takes. That way the queen can get harassed. That's a good move. Yeah, I would never consider queen takes d5, by the way. Never. I would move my knight to e7 and castle and get mated that way. Yeah. Knight c3, queen h5, rook e1 check. Man, now it looks like Morphy's white. This looks like Morphy doofus. Yeah, but it's Lange doofus. So, yeah. And you guys all know the famous game. I'm just upset they don't know anything. That Wesley So beat Gary Kasparov in St. Louis 2 years ago in the Blitz tournament. Yeah?
I know he beat him. I don't know.
It's a famous game because he sacked all his pieces and mated him. And it was a Blitz game. And when the game ended and the round was over and the day was over, they interviewed everybody. Kasparov said, that was like Morphy amateur and I was the amateur. That's what he said. Yeah. People make fun of Morphy's opponents, but then when it happens to them, they're like, I was tired. Yeah. So, okay. You should, but there's a lot of videos on the internet of that game. So when this is over, go watch that. Wesley So Kasparov blitz game. I mean, Wesley took him to school and then picked up at 3:30. He was a nice guy. Okay. I guess Jesus was on his side because it was Wesley. Okay. King D8 because that's a good move to play. What? Yeah, Wesley. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know what to suggest for black. Opinions? Like bishop e6 runs into d5, knight e7 runs into bishop a3, king f8 runs into bishop a3. So I don't know. King d7 looks worse than king d8. So king d8. Okay. So again, it looks like a Morphy game because the king moved and the queen moved a lot and none of these pieces moved. So yeah. And it was played in 1853, so that's Morphy time. Yeah. Now, what's a great attacking move? Roar! Go get him.
Rook e5.
That's a pretty good attacking move. Yeah, I like Rook e5. Yeah. Now we can also attack the queen by playing g4 or by doing a discovered attack, because we can move our knight off of f3, and then my queen's attacking your queen. No, I'm serious. I wouldn't lie to you. So there's a lot of moves that look good. Knight g5. Now, knight e5, which is very similar, does block the rook. So maybe knight g5 is more accurate. Obviously, we're threatening this. And you can't really move your queen anywhere because, I'll take that. So I think you have to play queen takes queen. I think so. Yeah. Now, you guys are confused because you're like, why is white trading queens? And the answer is, white is not trading queens. That was a good answer. I refuted the question. So he took the queen, and white did not take back ever. Confusing the audience. So the first move is obvious. Yep, and then the next move is obvious.
Rook d7.
Rook King d7, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, now what do we do? If you say take the queen, that's funny.
Bishop f5.
Always play bishop f5. Wait, that's knight f5. Oh, let's play knight f5. Nah, that's no good. That was recommended in my camp today. Knight f5. Bishop f5. And again, I give you a softball. Now what?
King d6.
Ah, illegal. Nice try.
Oh, whoops.
Tough for the class. One legal move and they can't figure it out.
King c6.
That's legal. Very good. All right, continue. If you say take the queen, that's the funniest answer. I'd be doing that all day if I was in the audience. Take the queen.
d5.
If you play d5, that queen on d1 is a good defender. Because I could play queen takes d5.
Knight d8.
I would play knight d8 because it's funny. I don't know if it's good, but I would play knight d8 because look how funny it is. Yeah, there you go. And now I give you another easy one right over the plate. No?
King d6.
That's right, when there's one legal move. By the way, I'm the master of that. When I analyze 100 moves ahead and you ask me how, I'm like, there was one legal move. So look, here, one legal move. Here, one legal move. Here, one legal move. I can do that. If you got 3 legal moves, I give up. Okay? Yeah.
Bishop f4 cuts off more squares, I guess.
Knight b4.
Illegal.
35 on
I know what you meant. Knight b5 gives up the d5 square. Then I blockade your isolated pawn. Terrible positional chess.
Bishop f4.
Yeah, but my answer was really funny. Nobody noticed. I said king d5 positional blocks the isolated pawn. Nothing. Do you know why I like bishop f4? Do you know why I like it? I'll tell you why if you want to. Do you know why?
It's checkmate.
That's why. Yeah. Yeah, checkmate. I like checkmate. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was an 1850s game. The black queen moved a lot and the black king moved a lot. And then most of black's pieces haven't moved yet. Yeah. Yeah. But that's funny because when people aren't good, they don't win like that. But you don't sack your queen and check the guy who made him. When you're no good, you just lose. So Max Lange was pretty good, but he wasn't Morphy, he wasn't Steinitz, but he beat Anderssen and beat some doofuses and has an opening named after him, and he played a great attacking chess. But okay, if we put his games on an engine, okay, then not so good. And the thing is, these kinds of games and these kinds of people are what turn people off from accuracy of the couple centuries ago, because when Morphy played accurately and great and won all of his games, they would just say, yeah, but look at his opponents. And then they'd say, terrible. I agree, they did play terrible. So the question is, why did Morphy play good if everybody else played terrible? Indeed. Yeah. But I do like that there was one legal move in every position, so he figured that out. And also, if we go back, it's sort of counterintuitive to trade queens for white, which obviously he didn't do. But knight g5 lets black trade queens when black's queen is trapped and his king is on d8. So it's hard to find the move knight g5 because you guys were rook e5 and you said something else, I don't know. Something. You give some other move that was attacking. But that makes sense. But knight g5 is weird because you're trading queens, but obviously the queen's defending f7, so that's important. And I assume if I don't have mate, which I do, that I could just take your queen on d1 and you would lose your rook in the corner. So even if I don't have mate, I'm winning anyway without mating you. So knight g5 was pretty safe. Now, as part of the lecture, I want to talk about why games like this aren't played anymore. It's not because people don't play wild and crazy. I've been to a lot of class tournaments at local events. They all play wild and crazy. The difference is, in positions like this, where if I turn the engine on and it says +10 for white, I have no idea what it'll say, but it'll say some crazy number, right? And you might look at the position and say, well, I don't know. White has an isolated pawn. White has another isolated pawn. White's down a pawn. So if black develops his pieces against his king safe, he'll be doing well. But over the years, people realize, no, we're just going to go crush you. You can't have all your pieces on the back row, and then I attack you and you can defend. So grandmasters don't play like this with black. They don't say, oh, I'll win a pawn and ruin my position. They will win a pawn if they don't ruin their position. And how many grandmaster games is black playing king d8 when the queens are on the board? In the Berlin, it's very common because the queens are off. So players like Steinitz and other players of the 1800s would move their king around. As you saw Max Lange did, he played king f1 and king g2, and black's playing king d8. And the reason we don't see this anymore is those moves are very suspicious. And people defend better now, and calculate better, and they have a better sense of danger. No sense of danger then, to take everything and hope that you win. And now they're like, wait a minute, this king's running around, help. So people are more scared now, and the people who aren't scared, who are good, like Aronian, they're like, oh, that loses. They just calculate and it loses. So there are players who aren't scared, who will calculate, but they realize it's no good. Then there's players who are just scared. Karpov's not playing like this. If I told Karpov black was winning here, he still wouldn't do it. He's like, well, look at my king, look at my queen, I'm not doing that. So attitudes changed because of these games. But we had to, and again, if you were sitting watching this game, you might say, oh boy, I'm going to sack a pawn and castle. My opponent's king's going to run around, I'll probably win. Well, they didn't have the internet, and they didn't have books and score sheets, and everything's the next day. So maybe a lot of these games were played, but you didn't see them. You were at home wondering where water was, So you're like, well, I don't, you probably have more than 5 chess books. So the question is, do you own more chess books than chess books existed in 1853? Yeah. If you owned every chess book in the world in 1853, you own more now. And you're just some guy. You're not like, Garry Kasparov. You're some guy off the streets. Yeah. He was walking down the streets. You.
Yeah. So you say that there was a change in the attitude about, being positional. What player do you think sparked the biggest?
Yeah. See, Steinitz did both. Steinitz was wild and crazy like everybody else. He was like, whoa, slow down, egghead. Let's get some squares, get a pawn, trade pieces, win the end game. And they're like, what? That's no fun. But then if you win every game, it's fun. Right. And again, if I turn the engine on, don't be scared. Yeah. I never turned the engine on when I looked at these games, but I'm a GM. So I'm like, all right. And it's funny with the kids. I teach camp here all day. So any kid who's like under 1,000, okay, they know two things. They know who's ahead what, like I'm up a knight, I'm up a rook, I'm up 2 pawns, and they know if you can castle or not. And if you can't castle, that's terrible. And it's not, but they think it is. So like they'll give a piece away so you can't castle. And I'm like, you're down a piece for nothing. Like you can't castle. So to them, that's really important to castle because they were told that by everybody. And obviously in the 1850s, they weren't told that. They're like, yeah, king d8, that's pretty good. In fact, nobody's castling. King f1, every game is like random. So after you see hundreds and thousands of games, eventually you're like, whoa, we got to like play better and play differently. You change the way you play. And this happened obviously in poker. I mean, in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, that was a tight game. If you were a top poker player, you know, it's the tightest game ever. And in the last 15 years, everybody's a lunatic. Everybody's insane. So the game changed, okay? And normally, if an insane player plays a tight player, the insane player wins all the hands. And then when the tight player finally does something, the insane player can fold if he wants. Okay. Also, when the insane player has a good hand, nobody believes him. But he has to have a good hand occasionally. And then they're like, he's his usual no good, and then haha. So in chess, you don't have to play the same way. However, you can turn the tables Nigel Short style. You could be like, well, people went too far. They said, oh, let's play boring. Let's win a better endgame. Let's have no risk. And so he played the King's Gambit. And he's like, you don't know the King's Gambit. You just know it's not good. Or so you thought. Right? And so then Nigel would play these weird positions because he has more books than you do. You know about that, right? Yeah, Nigel has a lot of books.
Thousands.
Right. So if Nigel has a lot of books on the King's Gambit and this Gambit and that Gambit, and the other GMs are like, that Gambit's no good. Why? I don't know. It's no good. Then he can play it occasionally, and he can win quick games because he's getting these big attacks, and they're like, what's going on here? I thought it was no good. And maybe it is no good, but we don't do a lot of analysis on openings that aren't good because why would you do that? So occasionally you can get away with playing a slightly unsound opening to get the kind of position you like. And as Bobby Fischer pointed out, as Gary Kasparov pointed out, I apologize, he said Spassky never lost with the King's Gambit. Never. And I was like, what? So it's probably true if he said it. If Fischer said it, it's probably not true, but Kasparov said it, so it probably is. Yeah. So as you can see, I turned the engine on, it's like plus 1,000,000. Now I want to go back because I'm mad. I was telling you how bad D5 was. I mean, I assumed that black's fine here, although knight A5 is ridiculous. Yeah, black's fine, right? And then D5 just doesn't make any sense. Right. I didn't do any engine, but I'm like, D5? What? And it's ridiculous. Like it went from equal to white's winning. Yeah. Because you do opening up the center. Like Rook E1's good. Man, it looks good, doesn't it? Yeah. The D5 is just silly. Like nobody good would play that. Yeah. But I think the reason is we looked at this game and we said, all right. And when I was taught chess, I didn't open the center up when my king was there. I was scared. These guys weren't scared of nothing. I just, do stuff and I hope I'm okay. Yeah. So you'll notice a lot of the games that I win, especially in the Pro Chess League when I was black, the whole center is blocked and the chess doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I'm not getting mated because the center's blocked. And then the position doesn't make sense, so my opponent's never had them before, so I can win. But if it's like Mohamed Jarab had this position 10 times, then I lose because he plays better than me. But if he's never had the position and I've had it 10 times, I have a chance. Yeah. So I think for beginning players and novice players and people who are getting better up about till 2000, if you play the Vienna and the King's Gambit and you have some analysis, you've done some studying, your opponent's like, what? I know E4, E5, Knight F3. That's every game. And now you can get good positions because your opponent doesn't believe it. They don't know what to do. They just know it's no good. And maybe they're right, but I was right before they were born, or I was wrong. Yeah. So Max Lange, I learned something important. Not the other Max Lange. Yeah. Okay. And it's a constant pronunciation. And I think I walked off the plank there. Exactly. What?
There's no E
Who?
on plank.
Plunk.
What?
Max Plunk.
He said plonk.
Who? What? I walked off the pond.
I get it, but there's no E.
What does it do with my joke?
I thought that the E was what made the longa instead of langa.
What?
That's what the guy told you, right? The E at
That's
the
right.
end is
You
what made
asked
it.
if there was an E on the
Yeah,
end.
he said that the E is what made it lang instead of long, right? Or the
Yeah.
long instead of lang, right?
The E on the end of
Yeah,
lang
right,
makes it longer.
right.
But there's no E at the end of plonk.
So what's your point?
So how is it plonk and not plank?
It's not spelled plank, it's spelled plonk.
It's actually spelled, well, it depends on which plonk you're talking about.
It's Max Planck. It's not plank, it's plonk.
P-L-A-N-C-K.
Yeah, I know. That's plonk, that's how it's pronounced.
It's plonk.
Oh, I don't get the rule then.
Well, wait,
It's a different
longa
plonk.
as an E, longa.
Right.
Plonk is plonk, not plonka, plonk. Yeah, they're German. They don't say they don't say ank. They don't know what ank is. They're
It wouldn't
German.
be lang anyway, it'd be long.
Right, because they're
Not
German.
longer.
Yeah,
Oh, I get
yeah.
you. Okay.
But I mean, it was a complicated joke, and I had to walk off the plot, and nothing.
Now I
Yeah, she better not edit. She's gonna edit this, but still, yeah. She's like, this is the. Yeah, you know who's gonna edit this? Ben Simon's gonna steal our video and edit it and then put it back on our site. We'll be like, what happened? Yeah. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Except there's no class next week. Am I right? No, there is class next week. Yeah, then we're leaving Wednesday, so there is class next week. Yeah. All right. As we say in German, tschüss.